It's often difficult to get teams to take the rigor required of peer reviews seriously. It is very common for teams new to peer reviews to sort of go through the motions but not pay enough attention, or think that, well, a quick look is good enough. We don't have to do all the checklists. We don't have to really dig deep. But time and again, teams that do this do not actually find their bugs, and they pay for it in the development process. I'm going to show you data from 2 consecutive semesters of a course I ran that shows the difference between ineffective reviews and effective reviews. The first chart shows a course where I required students to do peer reviews, but I did not have effective software quality assurance. I did not have an effective way to measure whether the reviews were getting done seriously or whether they were just going through the motions. You can see there's a significant effort in the second half of the semester, and the last week, students were spending huge amounts of time trying to get the project to work. The black bars are the 95th percentile, so there were actually a couple student teams above the top of this scale in the last week. In addition, the quality of the projects was mostly poor. A few teams did well, but most teams had systems that barely worked. They met the minimum requirements. If you ran it enough times and got lucky on the demo, one time it would pass. The next graph shows what happened after I made one change to the course project. That change is I required students to fill out a peer review spreadsheet form and report the number of defects they found in each peer review. So previously, the peer reviews were informal, but after the change, there was some more formality that they were required to use a checklist, but they didn't even have to show the checklist. All they had to do was actually write down the results of the review and report them. And if they reported no defects found in a peer review, the staff would give them a little bit of a hard time and ask them why they didn't find anything. That was it. That's the only change. But you can see the result is dramatic. The number of hours about in the middle of the course goes up dramatically because due to doing the reviews, students are realizing they're in trouble earlier and not waiting for final system tests to find out there's an issue. The most amazing thing about this graph is the last 4 weeks, which are just system integration and test, no new development, effort goes down dramatically. What's happened is the peer reviews have pulled finding the bugs back into the middle of the course. And the last 4 weeks, students are mostly running some automated tests, shaking out the last few things, and doing other things with their time, like worrying about the projects for all their other courses where they did not do peer reviews. There were a couple teams that sort of didn't get the message and still had a crisis on the last week, but even those teams spent far less time. An even better outcome is that this semester, the projects worked quite well. Rather than the previous semester having projects that barely worked, this semester several teams had run thousands and thousands of random simulations and got their projects working amazingly well. Now let's go back to the before spreadsheet, and you can see students were spending an average amount of time around 13 hours in the course, including all the lectures and the project and everything else. The after spreadsheet, they're spending pretty much the same time. The amount of time didn't change very much at all. So the peer reviews did not slow down the project. In fact, in this case, the peer reviews were effort neutral. It was the same effort with and without peer reviews. The difference is, with peer reviews, the projects actually worked, and there was no huge crisis right at the deadline. So think about it. Which project do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the project where you find the bugs at the end, there's a crisis, and your code barely works, the before? Or do you want to be on the after project, where sure, the workload's a little higher up front, but at the end, there's no crisis, the code works great, and you're just tying up a few loose ends? Again, the only difference between these two projects was whether there was a formality mechanism in to make sure the peer reviews were actually getting done properly. That's it.